Hi and welcome back to my workshop. I'm Tony, and if you are following me, you know that we are now closing in on the final stages of the build of this amazing Jagdpanther G2, this huge 1:6 scale full metal kit from Armortek. And I have loved every single moment of the build, and if you guys have followed me all the way through this, I really hope you have, and from the comments I've received it seems as if you have, and thank you for following this build and supporting me throughout. In the last session we got the, if you like, the base top coat of the camo scheme on, which is the Dunkelgelb. Now this Dunkelgelb finish was what most of these vehicles would have been sent out of the factory with, and then of course different divisions would then paint and camo the tank accordingly. Now I've decided which, I've got a rough idea if you like, but I've decided which way I'm going to go with this, and I've chosen a pattern which is very similar to what I did with the Hetzer, because I really think the Hetzer came out quite nicely, and the method I'm using is a masking tape, cut masking tape if you like method. I've seen people do airbrushing on these using just aerosol cans, freehanding it so to speak, and they look incredible, but I'm going to go with my method. I really like the way these results for the Hetzer came out, so I'm hoping I get something similar on this. Now this is an opportunity for you to, if you like, put your own personality into your model. You've got a guide, but don't be too close to that. Again, this is not a museum grade kind of build. This is just my personality going onto my tank, and hopefully when it's finished that will reflect that. So this is a really good opportunity to have a bit fun, relax, be creative, and bring your own style to your tank. And this is what I've said many times. There could be 150 of these, and each and every one of them will look different because of everybody. The builders have all put their own stamp and own personality, and that's one of the best things about this hobby, or any model building hobby. Right, what do I need? I'm going to need a brand new cutting mat, which is here because I need it to be absolutely spotlessly clean. I've got a roll of masking tape, and I'll show you how I deal with that. A very sharp new scalpel blade, a pencil, and patience. That's about it. So the first coat I'm going to put on after the Dunkelgelb is the next one, which is the brown, which will be the rock brown, which is this, can't even read, RAL 8017, and this is the official colour that the German divisions used to use, along with this green, the olive green, which is their RAL 6003. But the green will go on last. And what I've got to do is I've just got to basically mask off the tank of the areas I want to keep in the Dunkelgelb, if you like, and then go over with the brown. And then when that's all dried and cured and I feel confident that it's going to take the masking tape, I then mask off all the brown that I want to keep, and then I go over with the green. And then finally we unveil it all, and hopefully we're going to have something a bit special when it's complete. Now I can't do the brown and the green in the same session, so I'm going to get on with the brown today, and then we can come back and revisit it for the green. And if I get time at the end of this, we could probably start assembling some of the Armorpack's kit tools, so that gives us a little bit step forward, because once we've got the camo scheme completed on the tank, we've then got to get all these tools built and painted and detailed, and then apply them to the tank, and then carry on doing all the finishing off and all the wonderful details, and of course the electronics. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, because we've still got a lot more to do to this to really sort of make it pop. And if you are one of my followers that are considering joining up as a member, please do. It really does help support me. And of course I am starting to load up more content on there. Shortly I'll be adding another video on there regarding the setting up of the electronics, and I've explained in my last video the reasons why it's got to go that route. So we'll crack on now. I'm going to reposition the camera, we'll get started, we'll set out the masking tape, we'll start looking at the pattern, and then once we've got all the patterns cut out, we can start applying them to the tank. So let's do that, and well, I'll reposition the camera and I'll be back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just line up my masking tape, and I'm going to start at the bottom of my cutting sheet and work up. It just makes it easier for when I peel this off, and I'm just literally just going to tear that by hand. Then I'm going to overlap by about 10 mil each strip of masking tape, trying to be careful not to get any creases in the main canvas area, this part here. And then when I've got enough of these down, I'm going to create, if you like, a sheet. Now I know you can buy masking paper, like A4 sheets of it, but firstly it's expensive, and secondly I think that it's just harder to deal with, because you've got backing paper on it, and and once you've got your shape cut, it can be fiddly. So over the years of me doing this is how I've come around. I've got about doing it. Mind you, I used to do this for much smaller scale models. Everything's completely different when you're working on this sort of massive scale, so you always have to be mindful of that. And as I said, once we get this lined up, we can then get our pencil and just start being creative. Probably get away with one more. And I try and cut as many shapes out of this as I can, just to save on the old masking tape. Maybe one more. There's no need to cut the edges either. Just as I said, just tear it off, that's fine. So you don't need to worry about trimming up the sides at all. Now, what I've got is I've got a rough idea what I how I want to sketch this out. So I'm going to start off by just sketching it crudely by hand. And we're not going to be able to trace this exactly as I've drawn it, but it's just a guide. I don't actually like that, so I'm going to come down here and do that, I think. Now, with my scalpel blade, I'm going to very carefully trace as close as I possibly can to the line. And I know you can get these sort of circular cutters, and I did buy one just to see how I got on with it, but I found it awkward with curves. Brilliant with soft curves and straight lines, but when you want to get into sort of tighter curves, really tricky. And again, I'm just using what I've drawn as a guide, not necessarily trying to trace around with the scalpel blade to the exact line, just close to it. Sorry, I'm being quiet as I'm trying to concentrate. Now this one is going to dress from the top of the roof section of the tank all the way down and towards the skirting part. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to come back up here. Where did I start? Right. Go back around that curve. Really important to get a really sharp brand new blade in your scalpel. And if you can, always pull the blade towards you. That way you're not going to lift the masking tape where it's been overlapped. So I'm going to trace that new line. Sorry, I've got the door open because it's another beautiful day here in the UK, probably the last of the summer. And our old mates on the bikes, my old mates on the bikes, are out busy. That finishes that. Now before I peel, just put that safety first. Let's do another shape within this. Something smaller potentially. Like that. Not sure if that coming. Can you see the pencil marks on the camera? Just about, I think. And the lovely thing about this is, again, as I said, this is your personality. This isn't something you're following a potential pattern, because my understanding is the tank crews of that era would paint them themselves, depending on which division they were in. So even back then there was no two vehicles the same, unless they're all just left in their factory colours. So it really is a great opportunity for you to explore your creative juices. Right there. And what we do in a minute, once I've done all this, we'll be able to start peeling and getting them onto the tank. So that's that one. What I'm probably going to do is carry on. You won't want to watch me do this all the time. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to carry on drawing, going to carry on tracing, and then I'm going to come back when I've got everything traced, cut for the big peel, and then we'll start putting it onto the tank. Right, so that's it all drawn out, it's all cut, and hopefully now it's just a matter of me peeling off the masking tape around it, and I'm peeling from the bottom up. Concentrating. And hopefully what we should be left with is the parts that we're going to use to mask off the Dunkelgelb. Now this is where you need to be a little bit careful. Actually quite therapeutic, this. All that excess stuff needs to be put in the bin. You can start seeing now the pattern that's going to be left on the cutting mat. And once we've got all of that exposed, we then have to carefully lift the patterns and transfer them onto the body of the tank. That goes in the bin. Very satisfying when it comes off and you see the pattern underneath. What's even more satisfying is when you finish painting and you reveal all these, you pull these bits of masking tape off and you unveil the finished piece at the end, your own masterpiece, so to speak. And obviously when you're doing this, be mindful of the size of this. It's a beast, it's huge. So you're going to want a mixture of small and large. And some of the smaller ones, I mean I've got to do some more, but some of the smaller ones will be used to go around the gun barrel, which I've removed from the tank again. I'm also going to have to mask up the track and the wheels before we do any more painting. But we're just about ready. There you go. So that's it. So they're all the pieces that we're going to use on the tank to mask off the Dunkelgelb. And now what I'm going to do to get these off, you come from the bottom. I'm going to use the back edge of the scalpel just to get some kind of lift on that. And very carefully remove from the cutting mat. And then that is now going to be transferred to the tank. So let me show you that. I'll reposition the camera and I'll show you how we put all these on. First things first, I've got a dry brush here and I'm just going to dust off, because this has now been sitting in my workshop for a couple of days, and you always get a little bit of powder residue from the painting. So just dust off all the areas that you're going to be applying the masking tape to. And we're going to now start with one of the first ones. And what we're doing here is masking off part of the tank that we're going to retain the Dunkelgelb underneath. So I'm just going to get that on initially, just very slowly, using my hands just to feed it into all the gaps. Just need that to go up underneath that, that's that. And then I want that to be tight in the corner where it meets the skirting rail and the side of the hull. You don't want any gaps because the paint will get underneath that and smudge. And I'm going for sharp lines. And once this is on, just rub it into place. I'm using masking tape, which is a low tack masking tape. It's only because when I peel it off, I don't want to have any issues with the paint underneath. Not that I'm not worried that it's going to have an issue, but so that's that. Hopefully you can see that. So what we're looking at here is this, when it's unveiled, will be the Dunkelgelb underneath. So I've just got another one ready to go. I've still got to take the remainder of those off the other ones off my bench. And here I'm just going to, we can just start to apply this in random areas. So there's a little bit on the skirting there. Just fold that over, work it into all the corners. And again, before we actually get the paint and start painting, just make sure you go back around with your fingers, make sure that all the edges are in contact with the body, so there's no danger of overspill of paint. So that's that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and get all the other ones, peel them off my cutting board and start working this side through. And remember, we're now, where the yellow masking tape is where the only bit of Dunkelgelb is going to be on the finished job. So that's all my masking done. Just have to make sure before I spray it, I might go back round and just make sure all these bits of masking tape are secured to the hull. And I've done both sides, back and front, and all I've done is I've just picked out some small random areas for the Dunkelgelb to remain. Now my camo scheme on this particular build is predominantly brown front end and predominantly green rear end, but I will need to allow for some green pattern here and some parts on the front and the side. Now ordinarily I would go brown all the way across, and then come across with more masking tape and then go green. But with the way I'm doing it this way, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some spotting with the green on areas that I'm going to be masking off, allow that to dry, and then put some masking tape on that, and then go over with the brown across the whole thing. And then I'll be able to go back in and sort and cut my pattern for the green. I'm sure that doesn't make any sense because I'm probably not explaining it correctly, but you will see as I do this the results, hopefully. So I'm just going to go and get my paint ready, and we'll start just doing some spotting areas for the green. Right, so as you can see, I have masked off the tracks, bagged them up, so they're going to be fine. Now I'm going to want to see, when I peel off everything, I want to see a little bit of green here. I'm going to see a little bit of green on here, a bit of green on the mantlet, bit green over here, bit of green here, possibly some green on the top here. So I'm just going to spot where I'm going to have the green, and then once that's cured, I'm going to just get some masking tape, cut it to a shape, put that over the green, and then that, when it's revealed, will be the only bit of green you see on the front end of the tank. And then predominantly the back end will be the green. So just going to start off by I'm going to be putting some camo green here. So I just want to put that on there. Just start building it up slowly, the coats. That tape is very low tack, so it's not really sticking as I'd like it to, but it's not a problem as long as we just check the tape before we spray it. Have a little bit of green probably here. Love this colour, absolutely love this colour. Of course there'll be brown, the counter side of that would be the brown that end. So I think that's about where I want to be with that. Let's get that tape on there. And some green on here. Definitely a bit of green on the machine gun. We'll just do the other side, similar kind of position. I think that's all I need for that, because the rest of that's going to be brown. Let's just drop this down a little bit. And we're going to do a bit of green on here, because I'm definitely going to shine a bit of green on there. This will probably, majority of this will be brown. Having said that, I might put a bit of green on there. All looks a bit Heath Robinson, but it will work out, I'm pretty sure. So I've got green there, a bit of green there. Green there. A bit more on that machine gun part. Lift that up, and when I do the brown, I'll speed all that up because you won't want to watch me do that. And I think think that's about it. I only want to put a little bit on here. Maybe a bit. It's all about just building it up slowly, not rushing yourself, and over time it will really start to take shape. I might bring the green round here a little bit as well. I might do that. Don't. I'll paint it, and then we can always decide afterwards. It's a lovely colour, this. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go with the green. I'm now going to get the brown paint, get that ready, and then I'll reset the tank. We'll get it up on higher up, and then we'll start. Once this is all dried off, I'll mask this off, and then we can go and give it its first coat of brown. Right, okay, I think I'm ready to go. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do the front of this, predominantly the brown part here. Just going to make sure that all my masking tape is secured. I've masked off the areas of the green that I really just want to keep on show. And now we're just going to crack on, and I'll probably speed all of this up because it is monotonous to watch. I don't think I'm going to get time today to build the tools because the size of this monster has taken such a long time to get all the camo parts cut out and ready to go. So I'll start off and see how we get on. So that's all the brown work done, and I've gone around and I've done some spot painting on the back. Now I'm preparing to put the predominantly green back end or rear end on now, and I've gone around and I've sort of randomly picked areas of the brown that I want to retain onto the green. I've masked off and bagged up the front because I don't want any green paint to go onto the front any more than I've already put on. Now it's a matter of just going around and making sure all the masking tape is down, and if you're doing this method, you might find, especially if you're using a low tack masking tape, in which I am because I don't want to damage the paint, you might just want to go around and just double check that it's bonded or adhered to the paintwork underneath. And I've got a few areas that I just need to keep pressing down, so to speak. So I'm going to carry on now. I'll do this, go and get the green paint, and we'll start getting the green paint on the back, and then really close to unveiling the whole thing. And I really hope it's going to look as good as I've got in my mind, and then we'll take it to the next step. So I'll go and get the paint, and we'll get cracking. So I'm really pleased. That is the last coat of green on, so I've gone around, I've given it 2 really good top coats of green, and then I've developed a technique by accident, I think a couple of years ago, where if I mess around with the nozzle, turn on my paint cans, you get an option to rotate the nozzle to a bit of an angle, and that reduces the flow of paint coming out. So I then go around with a very light dusting, and it gives you this kind of weird textured look, which is what I really like, because these are not perfect. They shouldn't be a perfectly flat showroom finish, so to speak, and I've really sort of managed to get that come through on this, and I really love it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start unmasking it, and I'm a little bit nervous because obviously you have in your mind what you think it's going to look like, but of course by the time you put the masking tape on and then you start painting it, you kind of lose where you think you were or what you think it's going to look like. So this is the first time I'm going to see it unveiled, and what I might do for a bit of fun is I might just unmask one piece, have a look at it, and then using a bit of camera trickery, we'll just do the old magic trick and unveil it in its full and final look. So I'm going to start, where am I going to start? I'm going to start up here with this big piece. Oh, that's come out lovely. I really like that. I really like that. I've got a bit of overspray of the brown and a little bit of underspray, but that's really nice. I like that look. So I'm really pleased with that. Hopefully that comes out clear enough on the camera. So now what I'm going to do is pop that in the bin. I'm going to go around and I'm going to unmask it, and we're going to use, as I said, a bit of camera trickery, and it's a bit of fun, let's face it. And I'm going to unmask it, and next time you see it, it's going to look hopefully in all its glory ahead of me doing any weathering and detailing on it. So let's try that now. I'm going to do the old, well, it probably isn't in the same angle as it was when I snapped my fingers, but there it is. And I'm going to be honest with you, I love it. This is a camo scheme loosely based on a scheme out of my reference book, and I wanted to do something to pay homage to what I did with the Hetzer some years ago, but also something a bit different. Like I keep saying, these kits are incredible because you personalize them. I personally love this. The only thing left for me to do now is to unmask the gun barrel and just screw that back into place. What I've got to do is, I mean, I've been very careful throughout the whole painting process that I haven't affected the, I'll try not to affect the recoil because I know that's working brilliantly. In fairness, I had, and a couple of you out there have spotted or had the similar kind of issues. It works, the recoil works brilliantly until you put the barrel on, and then because of the weight of the barrel, it can play up sometimes. And if you are one of my members, you'll see we had that issue when I was setting up the electronics with Adrian. So what I'm going to do is, once I've got all of this masking tape off, and this is proving to be more challenging than I anticipated, so what I'll do is I'll carry on with this, and then once I've got it all off, we'll come back and we'll put it on. So that's all the masking removed. Just want to just put this on temporarily. And the recoil seems to be working absolutely fine. So that is it. I'm really chuffed to bits with that, really chuffed to bits. So I'm gonna just have a bit of a tidy up, and then I'll come back to camera and I'll talk about the next stage of this finishing on painting and weathering scheme that I'm doing. Amazing, I'm really chuffed to bits. I'd love to know what you know in the comments, or what you think in the comments. I really appreciate that. So anyway, let me tidy up and then I'll come back to camera. So that's about as far as I'm going to go today, but I'm really pleased with the results. I really love the way the camo scheme has come out, and I'm not done yet. I've still got a bit more work to do on this, as well as building all the Armortek's tools and accessorizing the tank, and of course then we go on to weather it and sort the electronics out, fine-tune the electronics, and ultimately then take it out on its first full operational run. And I've got something planned for that, which I'll share with you a little bit nearer the time, but it's I'm hoping it's going to be of interest to you, a lot of interest. So that's about it. I am chuffed to bits the way it's looking. I'd like to know what you think in the comments, and I know one or two of you are building one of these, and I'd be interested to know which route you're going to go down as far as the paint scheme is concerned. But as you can see, this is my pattern, if you like. This is my stamp on this amazing tank. Everybody else will be different. I really like this, and I think once it's out in the daylight and running around in long grass and everything else, I think it's going to look really, really smart. So I'm going to sign off now by saying thanks again for all your amazing support, all those wonderful comments and all those thumbs up. They really mean the world to me. And if you are hovering over that join button, please consider it, because it really will help me a lot. And I am starting to put some more content on there, content that I can't put on my normal channel because some of the content is deemed inappropriate, I think, because there's just some colourful language in there. So anyway, that's why they're on there. And if you are new to my channel and you're thinking about subscribing, please do, because I'm not finished yet, and I've still got lots of stuff planned in my head which I will share with you along the journey. So I will now finally sign off by saying I'm Tony. I love building these kits, and I love you guys sharing the journey with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next session. See you soon.